And welcome back to a very heated Cheche. This morning we're discussing Raila's State of the Nation address that was issued yesterday. Now we want to focus on what he said specifically about Jubilee promises that have not been delivered. Listen and then we'll talk.
Office on the back of Kenyans believing its many promises. 3 years later, the free laptops for primary schools entrance remains a pipe dream. The stadiums in the counties remain unbuilt. The 5,000 megawatts of electricity are cynical ploy. The 10,000 kilometers of roads have not even started. The promise to fight corruption, one of the worst jokes ever visited on an expectant population. Indeed, grand theft on a scale unprecedented in East African history has become the new normal for Kenyans.
And you know, TJ, Raila went on to basically say that, you know, the president says one thing but does another, which has led him to believe that he is incapable of actually delivering on any of these pledges. Do you think it is a question of wanting to do it but not having the right people to execute it, or actually just having no intention to do it whatsoever?
Or the third one, whether he has an idea at all how to do it. No, on 3rd of February, on 3rd of February 2013, President Uhuru addressed the nation and gave the launch of his manifesto and said what he is going to do in 100 days. If you go back to that statement, you'll find that the first thing Uhuru said, they said things which are doable, which are easy to be done within 100 days. Number one was that he would give health, he would devolve the funds for health services, right? And number two, that within 100 days he would give little children facilities for laptops to be able to study. Number three, that there will be nobody who would be held in hospital for non-payment of hospital bills. And number three, that there will be, the fourth and the last was that there would be nobody everybody would go to school, whether you have the fees to pay or not the fees to pay. Those are what Uhuru said, that within 100 days. Now, what our business that we do is just to keep Uhuru to his promise. And we have looked at Uhuru for 3 years. Now we are in the 4th year. And I do not know who is the visitor to Kenya who would think that there are laptops in schools. I do not know who is a visitor in Kenya who would believe that funds and governors all over, including in Jubilee strongholds and in everybody in the country, is crying about the flow of money from the national government to the counties so that they can run their hospitals. This is why you get 4 or 5 people sharing beds, others are sleeping on the floor. They are basically saying, yes, this thing is devolved, but give us the funds to be able to do it. You know, specifically on the maternity pledge. Yes, specifically on the maternity pledge. Yes, it works. There's a lot of people who, mothers are delivering, and in Pumwani, which, by the way, is my neighborhood, I know that it works. But I can tell you that there are lots and lots of people who are either held in their hospital beds or can just not go to hospital, because even there are no facilities, but even then they will be expected to make payments that they don't have. We are entering schools. Parents are now taking children to school. And there it is. The schools which were supposed to be free are more expensive than the private schools. This is the fact that we live in, unless we are not in the same country. And so, what have we done? We have done a summary of where we come from, that every Kenyan knows. And we are saying that if this, therefore, is the system that we voted, I think we made a mistake, and there are alternatives to it. Galana project, for example, it has been on the books since I entered parliament. Every year we have been voting billions of money to it. And let me tell you, they said that they were going to irrigate thousands and upon thousands of acres. Up to right now, not even an acre has been done. Yet, the money has not come back that it was not used. In other words, it has been used somewhere. I remember when we had this debate with Senator Mutahi Kagwe, and he would say, but why take money to Galana when we need money for level 5 hospitals? And senators were saying that, look, this division of revenue bill is not complete. You are taking money to things that you are not prepared to absorb. You can't just absorb it. And they said, no, we are going to do it. Up to now, not even an acre. So this is what we are saying when my brother, Senator of Elgeyo Marakwet, is talking about growth of the economy. He's talking about how this has become a hub for tourist destination. I'm a patriotic Kenyan, and I believe that some of the things he's saying are very musical to my ears. I want them to be true. But all those good things that he would want us to believe has been eroded completely by the billions of money that they have stolen through corruption. So where are we? It's a blank check. Left has taken from right, and it is zero. This is where we are.
The balance is zero.
Yes.
All right,
I just want to start by saying that we had a manifesto. We still have that manifesto. We promised Kenya certain things. We promised Kenya 5,000 megawatts. We are now 3,000. From 1,000 and something, we are now 3,000. I think it's only, unless a stranger in Jerusalem who doesn't know that East Africa presidents were in Olkaria to launch the new megawatts that we achieved. That process is going on with the geothermal, and there is a little bit of also expansion of the thermal energy. The other thing that I want to point out is that when it comes to electricity distribution, we promised that every primary school before next elections will have electricity. We are only remained with we have done 90%, 10% is remaining, and we promised Kenyans that by June this year, every primary school in the country will have electricity.
What does it do with that electricity?
It talks about...
they're going to use laptops.
Let me just the third issue is that when you talk about, because you talked about corruption. Corruption is a challenge for everybody. In Parliament, where TJ is a member of Parliament like myself, we are facing the same problems by both Court and Jubilee members of Parliament. When it comes to judiciary, the Chief Justice has told us he's still grappling with that issue. The only thing that I appreciate the President is that he's doing something about it. My personal focus has been that if we can a little bit depoliticize this issue, allow the institutions like DPP, EACC to take action without really, like for example, when Raila tells Kenyans that he has information that Eurobond has been stolen, and when he's invited to give that information, he says democracy is being stifled. I mean, really, it's a contradiction of some sort. Every Kenyan, you don't have to be in government to be able to volunteer information in fighting corruption. It's if you saw, if you had, if you have any information, you must be willing to assist the institutions that are fighting corruption. So I'm not going to stand here and say corruption is not a challenge. It's a challenge that we inherited, but at least something is being done by the executive. But it is not the only role of the executive to do that. It's for all of us to play our role. Lastly, I think he talked about, I was trying to see some of the things. The stadium. One thing I agree with him is that because of the infrastructure of delivering the so-called laptops, many of us, including the persons from the court side, had suggested that instead of us going for the laptop, even parliamentary committee, that instead of going for the laptops direct, let's change it to be computer lab. And for me, and I'm speaking for myself, although we promised Kenyans that everybody will carry a laptop, for me, the suggestion that we reject that issue to become a computer lab is more durable, long-term, and more beneficial to more kids, not just class 1, because we have said class 1 and beyond. So we are also willing to admit, and personally, I admit, the President may have a different thought because I've never discussed with him that issue, but for me, I admit that I still believe that instead of delivering the laptop itself, we should change it. And Kenyans will be, I believe, will be able to understand us if we go back to them and tell them, instead of giving every class 1 laptop at the cost we are dealing with, let's have computer lab across the country.
The project did not delay because of corruption. There are provision of laptops.
Initially, it was not corruption. What happened is the delay of the tendering. People went to PPOA, people competed, because they had billions of money. Others are saying the process was not fair and so forth. It got delayed. But I think, for me, and I'm speaking for myself.
You're denying it was corruption?
No, I'm just saying
it was corruption.
Let me just complete that delay for me is a blessing in disguise. in the sense that it enables us to rethink that issue. On the stadiums, I think what Jubilee has tried to do is to put the current stadiums into proper shape, whether in Kisumu, Eldoret, Nairobi. But in terms of construction of new stadiums, because that's one of the promises we made.
Do you attend footballs? Do you go to stadium anyway?
Yeah, I was in Kipchoge the other day. It's a fantastic stadium. It's a fantastic stadium.
Well, yes,
and I would give you the
how is it?
Yes.
You mean the playing field? That's what you're going
the grass,
I've seen it
the walls, the grass,
in your
the
county,
pattern that has been put in the stadium. I mean, honestly, we cannot compete over what's fact. We can deal with other issues. But when it comes to constructing new stadiums, which was our promise, I think, again, I saw the money was, and TJ sits in Parliament, was allocated to the States Management Authority to start it this coming financial year. So for me, there are things we have achieved. There are things we still have 1.5 years to deal with. We must be able to continue being focused on those issues.
Let me deal specifically with the question of electricity, because the need to have every corner of this country connected to the electricity grid is not, I mean, nobody needs to belabor that. What it will mean for industry will be huge. Yet you've done 3,000 and the Kenyan public are yet... There seems to be a lack of appreciation.
I hope you appreciate
I certainly, I think everyone here appreciates that we need electricity in school, at every corner of the country. Yet, even though you've rolled out 3,000 additional megawatts, you don't see the public appreciating the value of that. Why is it? Do you think it's because it's going to take time to connect them to their houses?
Exactly. You know, the problem is we have excess power now. We have excess power. What we need to do is to attract investors to consume that power, to use that power, in terms of the factories, in terms of facilities. Two, TJ will tell you, he can tell me today, if he has the list, he must be having very few schools that do not have, because we said, if you take electricity to every primary school, then it will be closer for people to connect. What we promised also was that the connection fee is going to come down. Initially it had gone to 70, it's come to 35. The Kenya Power is working towards a situation where you will be connected fast, because they haven't completed that. You will be connected fast, and then you will pay the connection fee together with your bill until the time you complete your connection fee. So as a matter of fact, if there's something we have succeeded in terms of delivering, is taking electricity to the nearest people in terms of...
Senator, with respect to you, I think you are living in a different country, because the country I live in, when President Uhuru the other day came out and very generously said that, in fact, he abolished the entire fees that was payable for that construction. Up to right now, in my hometown school, I am unable to connect that electricity to the grid, because I have had to bring our elders together to be able to collect money to take it to the school. That was just at the roadside directive, it was just in the air, it was in the televisions, nothing went down. Kenya Power still expects you to pay 35,000 to be able to get that done. And so when we are saying that the government has abolished fees, has made sure that everybody, including when they said that every public institution, markets and so on, is going to be connected, I can tell you that is only in the television.
But I didn't say, and I never heard the president say we are abolishing fees. If anything, Kenya Power said that we'll bring it down for now to 15,000 or something, but that is as a promise. But two, they said in the long run, we will decide if it's 15,000, that will be the connection fee. You will pay as you pay your bill.
Over time.
And that has not been implemented yet. What it is, however, is that when we came to office, it was 70. At least it has come to 35.
Can you talk about
Second is that connection.
Can you concede that it was 70? It's now half of that.
It was even 300,000.
Well, I think there is one thing. I think the administration must be given credit for ambition and for thinking right in that direction of spreading electricity to the country. But the service and the state of Kenya Power and Lighting Company, even in the areas where they have reached, is pathetic. I mean, talking from my county, Bungoma, every week there are blackouts which paralyze, and this is an urban town, urban center.
Right.
So the grid, the infrastructure, transformers and whatnot are all, you know,
but the company itself
but perhaps
and that is not being considered. I mean, we are trying to reach, but the service is very poor. So there has to be service together with expansion.
But I just want to add something here to what Makalia said. It's true. In Elgeyo Marakwet, we faced that one for a long time, but recently when they built a power station in a place called Cheptonge, it improved. And I think what they have done now in this financial year, because I've heard also the same from Kenya Power, is to increase the power stations where it reduces the power outages. But in terms of supply of power, there is more than enough supply of power with the 3,000 megawatts. What we should be pushing is consumption of power now by the bigger companies, so that we can make use of the reduced prices of power. We can even achieve 5,000 by the next elections, if that is possible, or even shortly after the next elections. The problem will now be to consumption side. I say the average people, the challenge is connectivity.
Let's talk about the Kulalu Galana.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I have had and read, and I agree with TJ. I don't know. You know, the people who are going to determine whether that Galana project is an headquarter of corruption or it has in Parliament. And TJ has told you that there are reports in Parliament that are being considered. I have said, and this is a statement I have consistently said, and you will ask Moses Wetangula, the minority leader in Senate, that as a country we must avoid this thing of blanketing everything as and making conclusions. You can say there are suspicions, but you cannot make just final conclusion that there is stealing of money. And why am I saying that? Honestly, I saw, and let me just add this in passing, that I saw Wetangula yesterday accusing us of buying MPs and doing all that kind of thing. And I must say this with all due respect. If there is a person who should avoid that kind of trajectory, the only convicted criminal of bribery by the highest court in the land is Moses Wetangula. He's busy negotiating with the same ICC that is EACC, that is IBC that should be disbanded. Let me just conclude. Negotiating with the IBC is freedom. He's the same person who sold our embassies. Nobody else has sent 2 embassies.
I know the
he's the same person who has dealt with tobacco issue. But I want to conclude. Can I conclude?
Could you please go to the question of Galana?
Can I conclude? Can I conclude? So I have said that it is based on Galana. It's a part of Galana.
Okay.
It is the argument that when people go make statements that have not been substantiated, they must use the language that's correct. That suspicions has been raised about the project in Galana. It's for us in Parliament now to go and investigate and tell Kenyans whether or not the project is in progress.
But there are public documents saying that per acre, the production in Galana is in relation to the money spent. Was outrageous.
We will have to. I will concede. If any citizen has that information, as a parliamentarian, as a person who's interested.
You mean you don't have this information?
With the best interest of the country, we will be willing to listen and consider the fact that we must investigate and find out whether we are getting
but in a very simple way, as an ordinary Kenyan, let's just make this simple. We have given you billions of money. Go and irrigate. Next year, that money does not come back to me if you did not use it. In other words, it has been used somewhere. But I have not seen with my eye an acre.
The harvest.
Yes.
The harvest.
Literally, whether there are reports, whether Parliament is doing what investigation, or whether some police is arresting somebody. Which other way can money leave your pocket and is not returned back? And I do not see an acre that has been irrigated, and you come on national TV and then you say that, well, there are reports we are considering.
Maybe TJ visited Galana. I haven't visited Galana.
Or
so
maybe,
I'll be lying. I'm not the right person because I haven't visited Galana recently.
Okay, fair enough.
And there's no other way you could be able to see whether...
There could be another explanation. Since it's supposed to be mechanized farming, maybe it bought the tractors. I don't know. I'm kidding.
No. You may be right. And that comes to the value system. That Jubilee should just have the sternum to stand up and say sorry when certain things don't work, and say, yes, we said this we will do, but this can't work. We said we are going to give you laptops. It has now changed. Now we have to look at computer labs. We wanted to irrigate Galana. You gave us so much money, and that money we have given you back. We are really rethinking whether to do that. Can we have a value system of a government that we can trust, that can stand out there and say, sorry, this is not happening because ABCD. This in body politics, because the president does not go to Galana to irrigate anything.
Right.
These things are done by civil servants.
Right.
President only inspires confidence in that government, that it is a trustworthy government. What is set to do, it will do, or it will come back to us.
But let me ask you this, TJ. Do you think then the problem is that these were just clearly not well thought out pledges to begin with?
Well, that is true. But I think Jubilee has perfected this art of over-ambition, which is a good thing to be over-ambitious, but you are in charge of a country. And for heaven's sake, do not promise children things you can't deliver. I think that they tell us in counseling.
I would like to ask you,
you know, we have
keeping a little too low.
There is a fiduciary relationship. When you go out there to look for your votes, say things which you can do.
Don't
so
lie
that
to children.
Yes, so that we vote you on the basis of things that you'll do. But now to come to be very clever, be very digital, be very young, and start all the PR and start all the explanations to cloud everything that you said as though we are going to forget. You are taking us for a ride.
But
we are taking us for a ride.
Let me ask you something. In that statement by your court leader, addressed to the president, he is asking for dialogue. If you want the government to...
Did he really ask for dialogue?
He didn't ask for dialogue. He said we even were willing to go for dialogue.
Yes.
But now admit you have failed.
Anyway, it's all right.
That's what I saw the chairman of court saying last night.
It's okay.
That is, you want dialogue. Why do you want dialogue?
Well, we don't... I don't... Maybe it is not fair to say that, well, we have... You know that we have asked for dialogue.
You don't want to talk to me.
We went on our knees and bent backwards and said that we are the big brothers. Please, let's just come and let's discuss issues. There are issues to do with electoral issues, IEBC. There are issues
security, I think.
Security.
Right.
There are issues that are very pertinent on how you... We don't want to help you run your government, but we have some ideas that you can benefit from, and you don't have to pay us back. This is what we set for.
For the good of all Kenyans.
For the good of all Kenyans. And the plate was kicked in front of us. And we said, well, the time of dialogue is now over. All we need to do is to place ourselves to the people.
Who do you think kicks the plate? Was it the president or the deputy president? Who do you think kicks the plate? Who do you think does not want to sit down and talk?
Well, honestly, no, this is not my...
Well, the Jubilee leadership. What do you think?
Honestly, this is my personal opinion. Mukronen, I don't think, sits in that league to be able to decide whether to make dialogue or not. But I think that Uhuru really has a heart to talk these issues out. I'll admit to you. But I think there is a real problem with the deputy president about these issues. Whether it is because he has some ambitions in future or whatever it is, but I think he does not want gentlemen to sit on a table so that things are sorted. He invests in...
Why do you think him specifically, though? What makes you think that it's
him? Because he's the guy who has said that, what are we going to talk about this guy of Vitandawili? That this guy has no facts, he's all talking about histories and Vitandawili. I've had him very scornful in the past. I've had him spew a lot of negativity. I've never had Uhuru, and I cannot recollect, where Uhuru has spewed the same vituperation that I've had from the deputy president. But let that going, my brother Mutegi, we are now not looking for dialogue. We are putting our best foot. This is 2016. We are telling our electorates what we can do, and we are doing what we must do. And we will be judged upon the agenda that we will put, and what his counsel refers to as Okoa Kenya. You know, it is good to dismiss issues and laugh over them. But when you look at that document and consider exactly what it is putting forward for this country, everybody is talking about that. There should be some need to relook at this constitution to fix a few things that are stifling the service delivery. The other day, Senator Kagwe, I just read on the papers that he's saying that they should make Senate a upper house. Maybe that is what should be done, to make it a upper house, but you have to change the constitution. So, as scornful as it sounds, that this is just an Okoa initiative, perhaps it is the best thing that Kenyans should have looked at. And we'll be discussing that and the claims by ODM that the Jubilee administration has been looting public coffers for the sole purpose of rigging the next election. That and more after this. Stay on Cheche.